What's up, yo? This is Hammer here again, back with another video. And today I'm going to be talking about a topic that I've touched upon a lot in previous videos. But today I want to go more in depth into it, right? What I'm going to be talking about today is the white manosphere. Why black men separate from the white manosphere, and why the white manosphere in general is just nothing more than a racist anti-black space, right? I'm like, they do have some quote unquote, male issues here they address, but it's obvious that race is what drives a lot of the conversations over there. So for those who don't know, right, the manosphere essentially originally was supposed to be a place for men of all races to talk about issues in regards to men, feminism, child support laws, alimony, etc. Right? But as time went on, black men essentially separated from the main manosphere and created their own space. And then the white men essentially kept their own space and it became the white manosphere. But I feel like if you go through the white manosphere and you talk about the stories, the way they talk about that split, they make it seem as if it was just, black men that were just being emotional and they're just trying to be victims and they need to stop complaining. That's how these white dudes want to frame it. But the reality of the situation is that whenever the conversation, right, in the manosphere was happening, right, one of the main talking points that white men were constantly bringing was this idea of the BBC. This idea that it wasn't just about child support, it wasn't just about alimony, it wasn't just about the family court system, it was also about the fact that we're angry that black men are fucking our women. Okay? And that was one of the main talking points that black men kept hearing from white dudes over and over again. In fact, even now, that's still happening, right? And I think the reason why I think the separation happened, because we came to realize that fundamentally, a lot of white dudes out in these manosphere spaces, yes, they may care about the laws here and there, but they really want is to bring things back to how to where they were, white men on top. Black men and white men, just by default, right? We have a contradiction. We have opposite, right? Quote unquote status in this country, right? And our purpose, in regards to males' issues, is literally like contradictory. What does that mean? White men, right, from the day this country was created, have been at the top of every level of power, every level of economic, control, right? They had the women on the check. They had black men as slaves, right? They were the top of everything, right? And as time went on, they've kind of seen the power decline. So when white dudes enter the manosphere space, especially in the white manosphere, right, they're coming from a point of view of, we used to be slave owners. We used to have white women under control. We used to be at the top, and now we're losing power, and we're trying to get back into power. And what that means is putting white women back in line, but also pulling you Negroes back in line too. That's the reason why the same way they will complain about the same way white men, the white manosphere will complain about white feminism, they will also complain about black men fucking their women. It's all tied into one. But when it comes to black men, when we enter these manosphere discussions, we come from a point of view from a group of men who, from the beginning of this country's founding, we've always been oppressed. From slavery to Jim Crow, even till now, right? And we also come from the point of view knowing how white men have been using not just their women, but also black women as a proxy to attack us. It was white men that essentially put Title IX in the Civil Rights Act. It was white men that put sex-based rights in the Civil Rights Act. It was white men that essentially allowed white women to steal the majority of affirmative action, all to get at black men. But when these conversations about feminism are happening, they want to pretend as if white dudes had nothing to do with that, as if they did not enable all this shit that happened to begin with. And then the conversation goes back to, oh, well, y'all need to stop fucking white women. The reality of the situation is this, okay? As it currently stands, really, okay? The white manosphere is nothing more than a bunch of racist beta white dudes that are angry because their mother, sister, and daughter are being digged down by the BBC every single day. Or they have a fear of their mother, sister, and daughter being digged down by the BBC. And they made that shit very known. Everything else really becomes secondary. I'm like, I had essentially, I had a live stream I had a couple of, days ago when I was talking about a YouTuber by the name of, Undead Chronic and Ruby the Frog and Marlon Goldberg. I mean, if you listen to the video and the community, they will literally post videos, and it's like they will, on one hand, take a picture of a white single mom who has a biracial kid, right? A black biracial kid, and they'll put on the community tab, make fun. Oh, see, she's out here dealing with Tyrone, right? But at the same time, they'll also talk about how white men need to go out here and quote unquote divest their Asian females. It's just, it's the contradiction is all over the place. And the crazy part is that whenever black men bring this up, whenever we talk about how, look, you guys keep talking about race, you guys keep having these disparaging things towards black men, it's always, oh, well, y'all need to stop being a victim. Y'all need to stop complaining. Y'all, right? You guys don't, get over it. But it's not just the fact. It's not just the fact that they quote unquote they still have this quote unquote racial thing going on in the white male space, right? It's also the fact that none of them want to acknowledge how we got here. Because if you hear these dudes talk, they make it seem as if black men and white men are equally responsible. No, we're not equally responsible in this conversation. Okay, white men have had the quote unquote pillars of power for years. Since the beginning of this country, white men have been the one who cracked the laws. And the reality of the situation is that a lot of the feminist issues you complain about are stuff that you helped to implement. Let's keep it real. And that stuff was done to get at black men. See, they love talking about white feminism, about LGBT, all this shit, but it was white men who put that shit in place. When black men essentially fought, and really, a great way to really break this down is, let's look at the civil rights movement, right? Black men were out here being lynched, being killed, they fought for civil rights, right? They went out here to World War II or War I. I'm like, they bled to have this law passed. Just as they were about to get this shit passed, white men essentially conspired with the women, and what did they do? They essentially started to add all these other groups, right, including sex in there, as a way to undermine black men, right? We're going to, in other words, we believe in our race, in our white racial identity, right? As white men, we believe in our white racial identity so much that we are literally going to empower the women, right? Put sex in the Civil Rights Act to empower white women, to empower our own women just to get at black men. That's why that shit was done, right? They even took all the affirmative action that was supposed to go to black men. They even took that shit and gave it to the women. It got to a point in which now the majority of affirmative action actually goes to white females, right? And on top of that, they also allowed the LGBT to essentially expand the definition of sex to include sexual orientation, which laid the legal foundation for the LGBT movement we see today. All of that to get at black men, to get at black people. And I'm like, yo, even when it comes to quote unquote the sort of the quote unquote the economists of America, right? They love talking about how America is declining economically. Once again, when the United States under President Nixon decided to deindustrialize, right, and they exported all of the industries essentially to quote unquote China. There were many reasons for this, right? One was to quote unquote break China from the Soviet Union. Another reason was to quote unquote transform America from an industrial power base to a service-based economy, right? But another reason why they did it was because it was a way of getting at black Americans. Black Americans during this time, most of them lived in urban areas. And a lot of the industrial jobs were in these urban centers, right? And so one way to get at black America, look, if we deindustrialize and we export all of these, industrial jobs to China, that means all of these, quote unquote, industrial jobs are in these urban centers are going to go away, which will directly destroy the black community economically. Now, they knew that by doing this, this would decimate the upper Midwest, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania, all these, quote unquote, a lot of white folks, white blue-collar workers, we don't care. We're willing to sacrifice us economically. We're willing to sacrifice the white blue-collar worker just to get at black Americans. So literally all the problems that white men complain about in the white manosphere, they're responsible for. And this is the reason why we had to essentially separate from them, because we said, look, until you white dudes acknowledge how complicit you are in all these problems, we have nothing to talk about. And that's why I keep saying the white manosphere is racist. Because they failed, because although they talk about males' issues and, although they say they care about males' issues, none of them want to acknowledge how a lot of these problems were derived of race, right? Race, right? The white racial identity is what caused white men to push all of these policies that are now backfiring on them. And even now in the white manosphere space, they're still holding on to that white racial identity, to a point in which they will have entire panels complaining about how many white women are being. I'm like, you literally will have dudes in the white manosphere that will have panels complaining about how many white women are being dicked down by black dick. I mean, it's crazy, y'all. But with that being said, I'm going to go into to let you guys go. Make sure you like on the video. And of course, remember guys, like the video, subscribe, share the video. And with that being said, Hammer out.